He had arrogance, and he but he had actually made a very terrible damage to the country and the system that three of them, the three brothers who worked very hard to establish. And so people made some, research about why this happened. And so they talked about he had sworn brothers, two sworn brothers, Liu Bei and Guan Yu. They are from different families, have different last names, and then they got together as sworn brothers. They trust each other, they help each other, protect each other, and he was very loyal to Liu Bei, and for like 500 kilometers, he protected just himself. He protected Liu Bei's two wives, and at that time they don't have hotels like now, and it was like all the country was very chaotic. And so they were just fleeing, and they don't have a lot of money. And they don't have money to go to stay in a 5-star hotel. And actually they have only one room that they can probably sleep in. And they don't even have heating. I don't know if at that time they have any servants who would help him to carry the luggage. And at that time, he already had a title. And usually he would be respected by others. And at night, his brother's wives were there, and it's only one room. And most likely, the two ladies, the two wives would say, "Oh, it's too cold outside. Come inside. Don't stay outside." But he always say, no, I've already had some wine. It's not polite if I come into your room. And so he refused to stay in the same room. And so he actually very respectfully respected the etiquettes and the rules to respect his brother's wife. He was very strong, and he was very young, and he was protecting two beautiful ladies, but he knows who his position is, and so he protected them very well, and he doesn't even want anyone to misunderstood him. And at the same time, he still needs to look after the two ladies very carefully. Even if he would go hungry, even if himself doesn't have food, he would prepare food for the two ladies. And so every time he risked his life, every single time he risked his life to protect his brothers, and always strive to reach the goal that three of them have already set a long time ago. And also, those three countries that we mentioned before, Cao Cao is the emperor of the king of the country Wei. So you can see these leaders, Cao Cao, Liu Bei, and Sun Quan. So these three kings of the three countries, the three leaders, they were actually very outstanding. They are really having enormous charisma, and including Cao Cao. Well, in a drama, you always see, oh, he's very bad and cunning, but you see there are so many generals would follow him. So how did Cao Cao do things? Let's see. Cao Cao was very clear that Guan Yu, he was the sworn brother with Liu Bei and Zhang Fei, and in the political fight and battles and military battles, they don't think that these sworn brothers are not reliable. It's even, biological brothers, they don't even are reliable, let alone these sworn brothers. And so Cao Cao really respected Guan Yu, and because he was very, very courageous, very good at fighting, and very, very loyal. And that's why he promised Guan Yu a lot of high-rank positions and money, and even the horse, the very, very good horse, was also given by Cao Cao. In the three-state time, the man who has the highest level in martial arts was Lu Bu. And, individually, he was the best in martial arts. And Guan Yu and the three brothers, even if they unite and fight together with Lu Bu, they cannot even compete. But Lu Bu was only good at martial arts, but he was not very good at virtues. He didn't keep promise, and there are lots of things that he did not very integrated. And so he was caught by Cao Cao, and he has a very good horse that can run 1,000 kilometers, and Cao Cao gave this wonderful horse to Guan Yu. At that time, when people give his friend a horse, it's like nowadays we give other people a very good car. And so it shows that Cao Cao really liked Guan Yu. Almost every leader would like someone who's very loyal. But even if he gave him the good horse, Guan Yu still, that's no use. I'm still going to go and find my brother Liu Bei. And so usually people think, oh, that's too silly. So whatever you give him, he would still be loyal to Liu Bei. He said, Liu Bei is good to you, but I will treat you even better. But no, he would just keep the promise, because when they sworn to be brothers, they were in the woods, and they have already sworn to be loyal to each other. And so they said, the heaven has already have already witnessed our promise. But nowadays, it's not like that. Some people, before their marriage, they seem to be very good. But then after maybe a month, then they forgot all the promises. And they would say that, oh, they were never changed. Even the ocean turns into land. But they never wait until then. In the past or in the current time, whoever is very loyal to their promise, to their, to their emperor, are very, very respected. And so that's why people, when they think about Guan Yu, they very rarely would mention his his negligence in losing Jingzhou, but would rather praise his loyalty and also the courage. And Christine said, Guan Yu also. Well, whenever you see him, you will see that he was like in the right qi and very upright. And so that's why a lot of enterprises and some stores and some families, they would like to worship Guan Yu because they like that the right energy, the positive energy, and the positive qi. And so a lot of people who had been awarded by the emperor, usually they have their very unique qualities. Well, I was I'm not that emperor. I'm just guessing. The emperor really like him and praise him. It's not only because of his martial arts. It's mostly because of his loyalty, his courage, and bravery. And therefore, in the southern part of China, there are many people who worship Guan Yu. In 1990s, I went to Guangdong province. A lot of the restaurants and stores, they worship Guan Yu. And they even would be very careful where the knife points to. And usually the knife would point to the door. So who are you going to kill? It's the customer. But that's not right. And actually, I think the owner of the restaurant misunderstood. Well, but the knife cannot turn to himself, right? So where should the knife turn to? And if the knife turned to the back, then that doesn't seem to work either. And so we should not try to, take advantage of the customers. We should respect him and learn from him, these positive energies so that the evil energy cannot approach. And so this positive energy can cover and protect the whole store or the whole restaurant. And so those of you who use Guan Yu's knife trying to take advantage of the customers, I think you're wrong. You should correct it. And I hope you will always think any customer who comes here even just once will turn into long-term clientele. And so instead of having a mindset of always trying to take advantage of your customers. So if you use Guan Yu's statue and put the knife towards the customer and you think the way of taking advantage of customer, I think it's definitely a misunderstanding. Anyways, I want to make it clear, even though we talked about one thing that he didn't do well, that we still respect Guan Yu. And so we said such a godlike person even made a mistake because of arrogance, and let alone our ordinary human beings. Why do we talk about his mistake? Because of the mistake, then it will bring loss. And that's why we want to tell the story so that we can learn from it and we will be able to protect whatever they have already accomplished. For 30 years they worked hard and finally established a country. And just because of that arrogance, he lost everything. So what a pity. And so it's a kind of a conflict in the thinking. It's first of all, you need to be courageous to move forward, but then you still need to be very careful. And for investments, you need to be even more careful, especially especially careful so that you can preserve and protect whatever you have already achieved, the assets or the career or whatever business you have already accomplished. So yesterday, we also talked about the General Nian Gengyao. This is something that we also need to learn from him. And maybe when he was sent to prison, he finally realized his mistake. When there were so many, good things coming, sometimes we cannot keep our heart calm. It's like the kettle. When you put too much heat to the kettle, the water inside will not be peaceful anymore, will not be calm. And therefore, when we practice Zen, when we get to a complete deep meditative state, we don't hear anything externally. Our eyes, ears, mouth, and nose is completely detached from the external world, and nothing can bring about our desires. And only in that state our heart can get into the meditative state. And when we follow the path and of meditation, we can eventually get to the state of Prajna Paramita in the Heart Sutra, which was mentioned in Heart Sutra. It's the zero state and the empty state. And it was because of that purity and emptiness that we can see the truth of things. And so we need to purify ourselves. And therefore, General Nian Gengyao's mistake first was coming from excessive awards from the emperor, and secondly, because of his excessive power. And thirdly, is because of the flattering from the people around him. And so this water in the kettle becomes boiling all the time. And so when he saw emperor, he didn't pay respect. And when he saw his colleagues, he doesn't know any etiquette. And so he lost calmness and lost peace. And when we actually have, cold and sufferings or poverty, we are more likely to be calm. And when will we lose the calmness? We talked about the 8 worldly wings should not move us, should not, change us. It sometimes sounds to be a good thing, like, win the prize, or be praised, or get the benefit, or buy a new house, or get married and have a new wife, or something like that. It all looks good, sounds a good thing happened, but that also makes you very, excited and lose that peace, and then you would lose wisdom. And when you lose peace, all your 5 senses will be blocked. You will not be able to see the truth. And those who seems to be suffering or pain sometimes will actually help us to think better. And if we didn't pass exam, or we lost money in the business, or maybe a divorce, and you didn't and you got sick, all these bad things happen would force you to think and contemplate. Maybe you didn't always get the right conclusion, but only after some sufferings, you would come to a truer conclusion. A lot of the good things sometimes will lead us to be far away from the truth. Sometimes these pain or suffering actually help us to be more clear-minded. All these those sound like joy or happiness or pleasure sometimes will bring us even further from the truth. And so today we're talking again about the 8 worldly wings. Some Chinese people, some young people who are not very good at Chinese, they would think, what are the 8 worldly wings? They're just analogies that just 8 kinds of feelings and 8, including 4 good ones and 4 bad ones. So, well, roughly like that. And we use some stories to help you to understand. And therefore, you can learn better. And today, we're going to talk about another very special historical figure. He was a very, is a great meditation master, Daoyan meditation master. And his humane name, well, actually, his name was Yao Guangxiao. He was very, very famous. And he was in the Ming Dynasty and helped the 3rd emperor, Zhu Di. And people would call him Yongle Emperor. Zhu Di, the 3rd emperor of the Ming Dynasty. Yao Guangxiao is a Chinese military strategist, statesman, and Chan Buddhist monk. So I'm going to talk about his background. When he was only 13 or 14 years old, he already became a monk in a Buddhist temple. And then his Dharma name was Daoyan, so he was Monk Daoyan. He was very, very smart, very intelligent. His hometown was in Jiangsu province. And so actually around, on both sides of the Yangtze River, there are many famous people. So when he became a monk, he started to learn all kinds of knowledge, any knowledge that he can have access to. And he very seriously cultivate himself and learn Buddhist Dharma. And then he also acknowledged Xi Yingzhen, who is a Taoist, as his master to learn Taoist techniques. A Buddhist monk, a meditation master, he would also learn Taoist techniques. That's very special. Well, it's probably because of the environment. The Taoist techniques and arts are actually has been learned for used for more than 1,000 years and very easy to find and learn. And then he went to Henan province, the Songshan. You know Shaolin Temple, right? Shaolin Temple is on Songshan Mountain. And so he went to the Songshan Temple. I don't know if Songshan Temple was Shaolin Temple. And then he encountered one of the most famous facial reading specialists. His name is Yuan Gong. And this Yuan Gong was very specialized in facial reading and can read very, very accurately. And he wrote a book regarding facial reading called Liu Guangxiao facial reading art of facial reading. And so this facial reading master, his name is Yuan Gong. And so he also learned from Yuan Gong about facial reading. And Yuan Gong, when he saw this Daoyan, Monk Daoyan, and he was very shocked. And he thought, oh, what a strange person he is. He was very, very surprised to see him.
一定是个奇才。
He must be a very outstanding, person. And he wants to learn facial reading. And so Yuan Gong agreed to teach him because he thought that he was very special. And so you see, this monk learned all kinds of, Taoist techniques in art and yin and yang and those arts of magic arts and also facial reading, and learned about Feng Shui and politics and philosophy and even medical science. And he, Yao Guangxiao, in all those years when he was the monk, he very diligently learned a lot of knowledge. Most people, maybe you would either like Taoist or Buddhist, and the hardest thing for you is to find a good teacher. And sometimes maybe you do find a good teacher, but then the teacher doesn't want to accept you as a disciple. And he has all the good teachers and masters in that field, and they all agree to teach him and accept him as a student. And so that's his good fortune. And so in Hongwu, Zhu Yuanzhang, who was the first emperor of Ming Dynasty, and so we say, when he was the emperor, we would say this is the Hongwu first year and the Hongwu second year. And so we say it like this. And so Hongwu, I think 15 years, and the Empress Ma passed away. And so the emperor's sons, they are all called kings.
皇帝最高统治者是皇帝，
And
之后才是王。
so, the highest leader is the emperor, and then there are the kings. So after the Han Dynasty, all the kings are either sons or grandsons of the emperor. If they are from another royal minister, usually they have really big accomplishments, but very rarely they would be awarded the title of a king. And those who have the title of king, then they have their own like a country. And so if you are the king of the Qi country, and so they will have an area called the country of Qi, and then you can manage this country. You have your own civilian officials, your military officials, and they all belong to the country Qi. And so when you go out, you will say you are from the country Qi. And if you're from the country Yan, and so the king of country Yan, you have your own officials, you have your own army, you have your own, the whole system. And so as a king, it was a very complicated system. And in the later years, even the sons, they don't give them the title of king, and therefore the sons don't have their individual, independent armies or ministers. In the Ming Dynasty, though, they still have kings, and they still have their own country and armies. And in the Qing Dynasty, they also very rarely would offer the title of king to some ministers who had really outstanding achievements. And so, and they also call them senior. It's not that they want to be independent. They have their own area, they have their power. And so all of these are given by the emperor. And so in the Qing Dynasty, when they really have outstanding accomplishments or did something really great, then the emperor can give them something. Wu San Gui, he was not from the royal family, but he was awarded the title king. Do you know the reason? It was because the area, for the Qing Dynasty, for all the army of Qing who came to the mainland China, he actually contributed a lot for them to be able to conquer the whole mainland China. But he hasn't been on the position for long. Only about like 30 years. Something. And so, anyways, you know now the structure of the government now in the Ming and Qing Dynasty. And so at that time, Empress Ma, she was very famous. And Empress Ma passed away, and the sons who were the kings, of course, they need to come back and came to their mother's funeral. That's very normal. And so Zhu Yuanzhang, who was the emperor, carefully selected 10 most famous, best monks to help to serve the kings. And to release the souls from purgatory for this Empress Ma. And so, among all the 10 monks, Daoyan, Monk Daoyan, Yao Guangxiao was one of the 10 monks. And so the kings passed by the monks, and Daoyan didn't say anything and didn't move. And he was only coming here to release souls, so he didn't say anything. But there was one king came in front of him, and he greeted at once. That was the fourth son of the emperor. His name was Zhu Di. And the emperor's son Zhu Di was given the title of the king of country Yan. It was the well, currently that area is like Hebei and the north part of Hebei. And so the fourth son, Zhu Di, would conquer or manage the country Yan. And so he became the king of Yan. And so when Yan Wan passed by this monk, he secretly talked to the king of Yan. He held his sleeves and said, I want to give you a present. And Yan Wang didn't expect that. He only came here to the funeral. And there's a monk hold my sleeve and said he would give me a present. And he was thinking, what kind of present a monk can give me? And then this monk said, I'll give you a white hat. Well, thinking about what time was that? That was when the empress passed away. The Yan Wang's mother passed away. And a monk who came here to release the soul said he would give him a white hat. It sounds, normal. Your mother, according to the Chinese culture, when the mother passed away, they need to wear, white clothes and white hat. And so even other people hear that, it sounds very normal. But when Yan Wang heard that, he was very, very smart. So he heard something special in it. And when Yan Wang went back to Beijing, he took this monk with him. And he said, come with me to my country. And that's exactly what this Daoyan monk wanted. this
王头上加一
king
顶白
of
帽子，加
Yan,
一个白是什么字？
if you put,
是
you know,
皇帝的皇，
if you look at the character,
是这个
Chinese
皇。
character of
所以
Wang,
道
the
衍和
king
尚这一
and the
路上
emperor,
刚避
on
开
the
了人群，
character
悄悄
king,
地
if you
对他
put
说
the character white
和
on
你
top
呢
of the character king,
可
it
能就是
turns
我寻找
into
的
the character
那
emperor.
个
And
未来
so
的统领全国的帝王。
so he said, you will be
燕
the
王虽
future
然是
emperor,
燕王，
even though
是
you are
皇帝的
now
儿子，
the son
他知道，
of the emperor
如果
and
乱
you
说这
are
句话是
the
死罪的，一样会被砍
you're
头
the
的。
king of Yan. He knows that he cannot just
当然，
tell
他并没有
people
谋反
that
他
he
爹的意
wants
思。
to
他爹
become
慢
the
慢越来越
emperor.
老了，
He
等要
didn't
接
want
班
to
的话，
rebel.
这个
His
他爹
father
要
is
传
getting
位
older
给
and
他，
older.
皇位就
If
是他的。
the
他爹不传
emperor
位给他，
does
那他就
give
不
him
能
the
当皇。
position and the
所
throne,
以他自己
then
不
he
能乱
can
说。
become the emperor.
当然，道
Otherwise,
衍
he
给他说
cannot
的时候，也会悄悄地说，
he
不让其他
cannot
人知
say
道。
that he wants the throne. And when
但是
Dao
朱棣
Yan, the
听了之后
monk,
有没有动心
told
呢？
him
有
he had
动
to
心，
say it secretly,
因为他
when
们是
Zhu
一路
Di
奔
heard
杀出
that,
来的。
of course, it touched his heart because
所以到
he,
后来啊，这个
of course, he
朱
wanted to
元璋
become the emperor. And he,
去世之后，就是
after
他的父亲老皇帝，也是
the
明代第一代
Zhu
皇帝，
Yuanzhang, Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang, who
啊
was the
年
first
年
emperor of
年
Ming
年年事已
Dynasty,
高啊，长
get
期征
older
战，身
and
体不好，出
older
事了。
because he was always
可是
in
呢，
the
这个皇位
in the
呢，
war, in the battles,
传给
and
了
he
他
got
的
sick, and then
大
eventually
儿子
he
的儿子，也就是长
he
孙，
passed away,
传给
and
了
then
他
the
的孙子
throne
为
was
接班人。
given
这个在
to
历史上是
the
很少见的。
first, the
通常为了减
oldest
少这种争议，
grandchild.
通常是皇帝传
So
皇位都是传给儿子
usually, the
对
emperor
不
will
管传给
give
哪
the
个儿
throne
子，就
to
传
a
给儿子。
son
这
instead
样
of
其实争议比较
grandson,
少。
and so there will
这也
be
确实
less
是个事实。
arguments.
但
But
是
this
朱
time
元
he
璋就不知
gave
道
the
是怎么
throne.
想的，
I
就
don't
是传
know
给了
what
孙子。
Zhu Yuanzhang thought,
这
but
个
he
孙
gave
子
the
呢，
throne to his
据
grandson,
说这个孙子
the
当
eldest
得不太好，
grandson. But this
虽然
grandson
又
wasn't
年
a
轻嘛，
very good
17、18岁一个
emperor
小青
because he
年，
was only
他
like
真懂什
17,
么？
18 years. He
虽
was
然
too
有一腔
young.
热
He
血，
didn't
有时
know
候也
much,
是跟着爷爷
even
听
though
一听，
he
在
was
朝廷
very
上开会，对不对？
enthusiastic.
毕
Maybe
竟
he
没有
would
经历
come
过
to
那么大的事。
to the royal
对于他
court
来说，这个
and
世界还是
imperial
就像一个
court
新
and
的世
listen
界，
to
他
what
根本就不认识。
the old emperor had
所
been
以当
working,
然
but
就
he
听
still
旁边
didn't
的这
know
些
much.
大臣们
And he would
啊，
always
是吧？七
listen
嘴八
to
舌
what the
啊，各听着各
imperial
种各样的建议。
ministers would
年
suggest.
轻人哈，
He was
好处
very
是
young.
青春活力，
Of course, he's
还有
very
足够做事的时间。
energetic. He
但
has
是
a
坏
long
处是
time
呢，
to do
是还没
things.
有做事的
But
经
the
验，
disadvantage is that
所以
he
他有
didn't have
很
too
多
much
这个大刀阔
experiences.
斧的改革
And
行为。
therefore, he had a
其实
lot
很多
of,
改革是错的，
you know,
虽然改革给他们带来一大
fundamental
笔钱，
reforms.
但是
Even though the
发现说
reform
钱还
brought
没
a
拿
lot
到
of
多少，
money
名
to
字就没
him,
了，
and
就
even
容易这样。
before he got
改
the
革
money,
一旦力度大
sometimes
了，
it
稍微
would
做不好就没有命。
hurt his,
所以在
maybe
历代
will
提到那种
even
大改革
hurt
时代
his
的时候，
life.
总是会死
And
很多人
sometimes
啊，
these
就是这样。
reform really
他也
hurts
遇
a
到
lot
这
of
个。
people's interests. So
同时不
therefore, a
但
lot
是
of
改
people
革的部
won't
分，
like him and
那
won't
接下
like
来
the
呢，他
reform.
对他的这个，
And in
他
addition
不
to
是
those
孙子辈嘛，
reforms, because he was the
那对于
grandson
他
of
父
Zhu
亲这一代
Yuanzhang, the
人，
first
他父
emperor,
亲的这些兄弟们来说，
and
他是个侄子，对不对？
he
是个
was,
小辈。
you know, all the
但
other
是呢，
sons of the
这
emperor
个
are
皇帝
like
呢，
his uncles.
因为历史叫建文皇帝啊，这个
His
建文皇
this
帝呢，
emperor is
也找着很多
Jianwen
理由就找
emperor,
茬，
and he
抓了和
found
杀了已经好
many
几个他的叔叔。
excuses
他的父亲是
to
兄弟中老大
catch
嘛，
his
所以他
uncles
父亲
and
的兄弟都
killed
是
quite
叔
a
叔，
few uncles.
他已经杀了好几位
He
叔叔，
already killed quite a few of the
接下来
uncles,
就
and
要去
then
抓他
he's
的四叔
about
朱棣，
to catch this
就是
fourth
这样。
uncle,
反正
Zhu
给你
Di.
一个名儿就是抓你。过去
And
他那些叔叔还没犯错，就找个理由就抓你。
well,
他
the
有
other
权利，
uncles,
欲
because
加之罪，何患无
this is
辞啊！
the emperor,
所以
and
政
if
府
he
这
wants
个
to
就有
kill,
这
he
个好，
always can
因为
find
我有
some
权利，
reasons or some
我可以没有
excuses,
理由
right?
抓你，抓
Even
完了你
without
再
any
找理由。
reason. And
是吧？
So
就是说，哎，有人说他朱棣谋反。
somebody would say Zhu Di wants to rebel. Actually, at that time, Zhu Di hasn't made up his mind whether he wants to rebel. But then this Emperor Jianwen already sent army to go and catch this Zhu Di,
一段时间，4、5年的时间，
his fourth
朱棣和
uncle.
道衍和尚已经成为了好朋友。
Before that, actually, for a period of time, this Daoyan monk has already become a good friend of Zhu Di. And Monk Daoyan said, in the future, you would have a disaster. You really need to secretly train your army. He was the king, but there's a limited number of soldiers that he can have. May say, for example, only limited to 2,000 soldiers. And if he has more, then they will say you want to rebel. And so they secretly built an underground hall and secretly training his soldiers and build weapons. And he was afraid that other people will hear the sound from training the soldiers or building the weapons. So they had lots of ducks and chickens on the ground. So there are lots of noises from the ducks and chickens. So people won't be able to hear the sound from training the soldiers. And that was actually suggested by Monk Daoyan too. And so when the emperor came to catch him, he was prepared, and so he defeated the royal army. He said, I didn't do anything wrong, and you see, my other brothers has been killed. Look at you, you don't know much, and you're just a niece, and you want to took over my rights. And all these brothers, the sons of the first emperor, they actually were worked very hard and fight very hard, and eventually got their area. And they said, "Oh, you're just a young man, and you want to kill us." And so he didn't like that. And actually, this Monk Daoyan had already predicted that. And during this time, there are lots of other stories happened. And Zhu Di actually was not very. He didn't really want to become the emperor, or actually, he didn't have the courage to become the emperor. And so during this time, Monk Daoyan invited his master, his facial reading master, Yuan Gong, to come and persuade Zhu Di. He said, I tell you, you are the future emperor. And so the monk said, I'm going to invite my facial reading master to come and see you. And so he said, everybody knows I'm the king. Of course he would say that I look like an emperor, and so therefore he disguised himself and dressed in a soldier and pretend to be very weak, and pretended that he didn't have any energy and any, imperial spirit, and he stood among all the other soldiers. And this master Yuan Gong came in. And this Zhu Di even asked the other soldiers, say, if he say I'm the king, you all deny, okay? And Yuan Gong has never seen this King Zhu Di before. So when Yuan Gong came in, among all the soldiers, Yuan Gong go directly to Zhu Di and kneel down. And then Zhu Di said, no, you're wrong. Wow, what a master you are. You're wrong. You're mistaken. Look at him. And, all the other soldiers were acting. And they were actually testing this master. And he said, oh, look at him. He's just a senior soldier. How can you take him as the king? But Yuan Gong said, that true dragon On top of his head, there's the auspicious, beautiful cloud, and his face has two kinds of energy that's soaring to the sky. And he, whatever dress he would wear, cannot hide his, this kind of dragon chi, and there's nothing can replace that. Whatever dress he wears, he is the king, he is the emperor. And so this Yuan Gong definitely and insisted that old soldier, King Zhu actually, is the emperor. And when Yuan Gong was so firm and insisted, and everybody really thinks that, oh, even the most famous facial reading master insisted that he is the emperor. You see, he disguised and wear the soldier's clothes. And other people, if they didn't know, how can they recognize him as the king? And then normal people won't be able to see. But Yuan Gong said, yeah, I've already seen people for years, for maybe dozens of years, and I can immediately see the qi and immediately see the energy. And so that makes Zhu Di more determined to fight against his niece, who was the second emperor of Ming Dynasty. And all the generals and ministers also around Zhu Di also are confirming and told him that he would be the future emperor. And that actually was true. He then turned into one of the most famous and who ran the country almost the best. And even in the Qing Dynasty, Emperor Qianlong, he said Yongle Emperor ruled the country so much better than Tang Dynasty and Song Dynasty. Yongle Emperor is the best. And in Tang and Song, they actually had very good management of the country. But still, Zhu Di, this Yongle Emperor, was the best. And for many, many years, the country was so rich. Everybody, they store the food, and then even before the old food was consumed, the new food was already coming in. And so at that time, they always have more food than they need. And so the whole country was very happy and peaceful. And so in the history, this Yongle Emperor was highly recognized. And also I would highly recognize this emperor too. So Daoyan, this monk has seen very well and has predicted very accurately, and all his prediction has been realized. And so when they decided to fight against the second emperor, at the time the capital was in Nanjing and Zhu Di was in Beijing. And so when they started to fight on that exact date, all of a sudden there was, wind and rain, and they were just about to start marching. Then the wind was so strong that they even blow away the bricks on the roof. At that time, they all, believe in those divine messages. And so what does this message mean? And the wind blows away the bricks on the roof. And so this Zhu Di already started to worry. But then Monk Daoyan came here and said, oh, my king and my... or maybe my emperor, he said, this is a good sign. And then Zhu Di said, what? Nonsense. How can this be a good sign? but the monk said, when the real dragon starts to move, then wind and rain will accompany. And the dragon, the wind will open the door for you and lead the way. You see? Actually, and then Zhu said, how come? Because the brick has already been blown away. But then the monk says, well, they blew away the blue brick, and now it shows the yellow brick, and only the royal palace and the Buddhist temples, they can use the yellow bricks. And normal people can never use the yellow bricks, otherwise they would be killed, because then it means that you want to be the emperor. But so the kings usually they have the those the blue greenish blue bricks. So usually for the kings, their palace have the bluish green or the greenish blue bricks, and so the Monk Daoyan said, well, the monk said, you see, they blew away the bluish bricks and shows the yellow brick. And so you're supposed to have yellow bricks now. So that means you're going to be the emperor. And so that helps the Zhu Li and all the other soldiers to have the confidence. And so, long story short, and this Monk Daoyan always helped him to plan and for the strategies, and not to fight with the local soldiers, or you should go directly to Nanjing, because your niece, the second emperor, was actually in Nanjing. You don't need to fight along the way. You just go directly to Nanjing. And so that's the strategy that this Monk Daoyan gave to Zhu Li. And so he advised him to do this. And very quickly they went to Nanjing. And very quickly they couldn't find the young emperor. And the palace had a fire, and so they said, oh, maybe he was burned, or maybe he just went out and became a monk. But anyways, and everybody said, Zhu Di looks like an emperor. He has very long mustache or very long beard. And so he became the third emperor of the Ming Dynasty, Yongle Emperor. He ruled the country so well that we call them Yongle Emperor. And so this Monk Daoyan contributed tremendously to the Ming Dynasty. In the history, the Yongle canon, including astrology and military and medical science, and including many different science and many different fields. The Yongle, or you call it Yongle Encyclopedia, and so he helped to compose that encyclopedia. And also there was a Yongle bell, the big bell. It's called Yongle bell, Yongle big bell. I heard that it's very heavy, 46.5 tons and 6.75 meters high. And the sound can go like 90 kilometers away. And so in Beijing, if you strike this Yongle big bell, the whole city would be able to hear. The sound was very loud and goes very far. And this bell was very, very beautifully built. there are many Buddhist statues, and many sutras are carved on the bell. As you can see, the big character is Namo Guanyin Bodhisattva. Most people, they don't know. Well, build such a bell, or is it the same as building a building, constructing a building? No, it's not. Building such a heavy bell, even nowadays, would be a very difficult task. But in the Ming Dynasty, it's like 600 years from now, before, they already successfully built it. And right now, it is still hanging in the Beijing Big Bell Temple. And in Qing Dynasty, they actually moved the bell. In the Qing Dynasty, they moved the bell to the Big Bell Temple in Beijing. It's more than 40 tons. Such a heavy bell. How difficult would it be to move it? I'm not going to go to the details, though. And what else did he do? Yao Guangxiao, this monk, because he observed the night sky, and he looked at the environment in Beijing and Hebei province and the Feng Shui around it. He found what they call the dragon line. And along this line, he found the place to build the Forbidden City. And he said, if we build the royal palace here, you will be able to conquer the whole China. And including the height of the royal wall, and many details of the construction were designed and decided and by this monk, Yao Guangxiao, incling the materials they use, the art and the craftsmanship and the whole design and the layout are all designed by him. And you know what? For such a big building, they've never used any nails, and they're earthquake proof. In 1976, it was a Tangshan earthquake, the big earthquake. This Forbidden City was completely safe. So you see how well they designed the royal palace. With the earthquake, they have already leave the space for these shaking of the earth and all these turning and twisting while they are having the earthquake. They can even handle it. And so, but normally this royal palace would be very stable and doesn't move and still can handle the earthquake. And so look at this monk. He was the master of Feng Shui, master of facial reading, the master of astrology, and master for managing the country. So he was like expert, specializing in almost every field. Oh, 绝真? Joyce. Well, you talked about building the Palace Museum or the Forbidden City. And so Beijing people said, first they have the Tanzhe Temple and then the Forbidden City. This monk actually had been in the Tanzhe Temple before, so that's why he used some of the architecture design from Tanzhe Temple. So this Forbidden City did so well in preventing and to handle the earthquake, and never had flood. And even in Beijing, some other areas of Beijing would be flooded. And this forbidden city would always drain the water and never be flooded. And I also heard about an interesting story. They said that this forbidden city was chosen along the line, the dragon line. In the Yuan Dynasty, they call it Yuan Dadu. They say the line of dragon is where the dragon would always stay. And so this Yao Guangxiao, he found this line, and then the dragon was unhappy. He said, "Oh, this is my place. How can a normal human being build some constructions and live on my area, in my space?" And under the ground, it's actually connected to the ocean. So the dragon, it was just a legend. And so the dragon was trying to come out to the earth, and he couldn't find a place. And then he found a hole in Beixingqiao and came out of the ground. And so that's the place where he came out. And he wanted to flood the whole Beijing city. And then Yao Guangxiao wanted to come and conquer the dragon. And the dragon used a very long weapon, and so all the energy was there. But you know what, Yao Guangxiao, he learned a lot of Taoist magical art, and so he had a lot of ways to conquer that. And so he took out his sword and to fight with the dragon. And then he succeeded. This Yao Guangxiao succeeded. And he also said, "Well, you came out from the ocean," and so he locked him there in a well, and he built a well above him, and with a lot of steel chains to cover it. And also I heard, when Japan was invading China, the Japanese soldiers, they didn't believe in the well and the steel chains or the iron chains, and so they thought that there are some treasures or some jewelries hidden under the well, and so they asked the Chinese people to open it, and then they pull out a lot of chain, an iron chain, and then they found that the black water started to, like boil, and then they could even smell the smell of the ocean, and then they can even hear the soaring of maybe ox or dragon, or and so they were very frightened. So that's why they put back the iron chain to the well. And I also heard in 1950s, I think that they were trying to build maybe a supermarket, or maybe build a road, and so they were trying to move the well. But then the older people said, no, you cannot move it. But at that time, people didn't believe those, and so they pull out the iron chain, and so they actually pulled out 2 trucks of the iron chain. And when they pull out again, and then they can see that the water started to boil, and then they hear the soaring, the roar of the sound, and then they also smell the ocean, and then they were also frightened, and so they had to put it back again, and so they dare not move that well anymore. And so You know, we heard about the Beijing Bridge. The dragon was locked there, and the dragon begged Yao Guangxiao. He said, "Oh, you locked me here. How many years are you going to lock me for? 1,000 years or 10,000 years? When can I come out?" And Yao Guangxiao said, "I'm going to build a bridge there. When the bridge will get too old, then you can come out." And so they actually built the bridge without a river, and then they call it Beixingqiao, and it's named North New Bridge, and so it's called New Bridge, so it will never grow old. And so maybe the dragon is still, locked there because the name of the bridge is New Bridge, and he can only come out when the bridge gets old. I heard about the bridge, and I didn't know before that this bridge has so many relationship with Yao Guangxiao. I actually heard about the story before from a senior, an old man. I think long time ago, I would say the Qing Dynasty, when they canceled the imperial system, and so there were a lot of officials and generals. They don't believe in the legend, and so he thought, "Oh, I'm just going to maybe put the cannon here and shoot towards the bridge," and then, but he did that, and then he heard the roaring of the dragon, and then the whole sky of Beijing was like completely dark, and then it was storm for 3 days. 3 days continually. And then his son was killed by the thunder, and his wife immediately kneeled down to beg for it, and then he put the chain back again and begged for peace. And the bell always spilled out some black water, and the black water almost flooded the Beijing. But after they worshipped again and put the iron chain back to the well again, then everything was fine. So ever since then, everybody knows that they cannot touch it, they cannot do anything. Well, it doesn't matter whether this is true or not. The well is still there, and you cannot move it. And if you say something bad there, maybe you would hurt your lower back. And so something that relates to Feng Shui or relates to divine, it may be beyond our knowledge. Our sensations, our senses are probably very limited. A lot of things we are not able to see. And so the best Feng Shui area for the royal palace actually was chosen and found by Yao Guangxiao. And the older one was actually about 10 kilometers away from the current Forbidden City. And so before, it wasn't very stable. And now, when the Forbidden City was there, now it's very stable. And so, Yao Guangxiao, he was so capable that even the emperor, he would not call him by his name. He would call him my young teacher. And he would he said, "Oh, I finally became the emperor. Help me to find a place for the imperial tomb." And so, in ancient times, they believe in these. They need to find a good place for their tomb. And so Yao Guangxiao agreed, and he found a place. On the left is Mangshan, and on the right is Huyu Shan. So 2 mountains on left and right. And then
它这个正好呢，也是坐北朝南。
It was sitting on the north and facing the south.
蟒山就也可以称为龙嘛，
And
蟒
so
是龙的
Mang
一个种类吧，大概就是像蛇形的
means
这个动物。
a kind of a snake, but
天然天成的就是
it can also symbolize dragon. And so
那
you
中间
see,
这个山呢叫长
these
土
two
山。
mountains can symbolize
那我
one
们
is a
在这个
dragon,
五
one
行
is
之中哈，这个八卦五
a
行之中
tiger,
中央
and in the
无敌
middle
中央者
is
王
the
也。
earth. And so
哎，
in
所以
the
正好那
in
个
the five
地域那个
elements,
环境，
earth
山清
is
水
the
秀，
middle.
有小溪，前头
And
流
so
河，
that
等
area
等
they
来说
also have
这个地方就是
rivers
仙气腾腾。
passing by, and anyways the
对。
whole area has
对，
a very
甚至是
celestial
灵芝、小梅
energy,
花鹿，
and they
哎，
have
小
all
吉祥的
those
动
very
物，
divine
在这里头
plants
到处
and
都是。所以这是一个风水宝
beautiful
地。是什么样的风水宝
beautiful
地呢？
animals and
是
plants.
皇
And
家
so
墓
this is a
地的风水
very
宝地。
auspicious place and
哎。
would be very
它找好
suitable
了之后，
for the royal
永乐大帝惦记这个事儿啊，所以这个
and so the
道元
Yongle
大师
Emperor
就给他说了，哎呀，臣已经找到了啊。这个皇帝说，那我得看看远不远，说
the
不是特别
royal
远，坐
cemetery.
马车1天就到啊。
And so he
就
asked
去了。
the monk
过去
how
赶马
far
车
it
差不
is.
多1
The
天
emperor
呢，
asked,
我估计他
and
们
he
骑
said,
马去
"Oh,
了，一听这好地方，骑着马去得快一
it
点
says,
嘛。
oh, maybe
哎，
within a
骑几个
day,
小时就到了。
only a few hours." And so they ride a
皇帝一
horse
看，
to
哦，
get there, and
那地方
and
现
the
在北京
emperor
昌
saw,
平是吧？
oh, it's in Changping, right?
一会儿咱们透
Okay.
露那个地址啊，
Okay,
因为好多人
later.
去在那儿捉东西去了啊。
Later, I will tell you the
Eh,
exact
Andy, you can't just
address.
put a
I mean,
conference.
the location. And so the
所以我连
emperor
不
went
懂
there and
风
said,
水的都觉得
"Oh,
这地方
wow,
山
this
清
is
水
so
秀，
good."
我们到这儿就觉得心里
Even
那么
though I
舒服
don't
呢。
know
但
anything
是
about
关在
feng
皇
shui,
宫
I
里头，
already
整
feel
天给
very
人斗争啊
comforable
斗争，是不是啊？
when I
给人
come
斗得
here.
比天正。
And
结果
of
到这个
course,
自然环
in
境里
the
来，
Forbidden
是心
City,
里
he
是舒
needs
服。
to fight
但是
with
这个地方
people
的风景确实
day
给
and
人
night, and
我也去过。
and it would be very
就是
stressful
我
when
本
he
人
came
去过，
here.
我
Of
不是
course,
说
he
梦
would feel
话，
good.
本
And
人的肉身去过。
well,
哎，
I
去
actually
过。
has been there
那
before. I mean, my physical
当
body
时永
has
乐大帝
been
呢，
there
一看这地
before.
方真的不错，
And
就
so
就开始
Yongle
问
Emperor really
道
liked
元
the
大
place,
师
and
啊，
he
问他，
asked
哎，老师啊，
Daoyan,
你看这个地方呢，
this
将来能买
monk,
我
and he said,
多少代子
"Oh,
孙呢？
my
这个
teacher,
回答真的令人很头痛啊！
how
说的
how
少了
many
吧，可能头
generations
没完。
of my
至少让皇帝
descendants
不
would
开
be
心呐。
buried there?" Well, this is a very difficult question to answer.
哎，但是
Whatever he
这
answers
个
might
道元
irritate
大师
the
不
the
愧为
emperor,
是一代
but
大宗师，
Daoyan
他怎么回答
monk
的呢？他
is
说：“这个
very
此
very
地
wise.
这个山间
He
明
said,
亮广大，
"Oh, this
长
is
风
very
聚
very.
气，
It's a
或者
huge
长风
place
纳气，
and
可
grand.
以埋
It
可
can
以埋皇上的这个
hold
万子
all
成孙。
kinds of energy, and
这就
it
是你
will
在
be
皇帝
able
基业的
to
话，千千代代就下去了，对不
you
对？
know,
千万代就下去了。
it
这
will
皇帝
be
真的
able
很
to
开心嘛。
carry like thousands of
这个地
your
方
descendants
就
here.
正是现在的大家上网
And
查
of
查
course, the
啊，
emperor would
叫
be
做
very
明石
happy.
山林，
And so that's
在昌
where
平哈，在北
the
京旁边
Ming
昌平
Dynasty tombs are.
啊。对，你看这个
It's
昌平这个
in
名字也挺好
Changping.
的哈，昌盛
Right
平安
now,
吉祥。
that
对
area is
对，
called
这个地方
Changping
就是有
in
13
Beijing.
名，就
And
正
so
是有
that's the
13个皇
13
帝，
tombs of the Ming Dynasty.
万子重孙，从
And so-
万历是吧？是叫
So
万
he
历吧？
called,
从万历到重孙，最后
but when we
真
look
正
at
的有
his
权力的
answer,
皇帝到最后一代叫崇祯
one
皇
can
帝，
means 10,000 generations.
万
And
子重孙。
Chong can either mean multiple
到
or
虫子
has the
就
same
没了。
pronunciation
所以这里
as
埋了
the last
明代
emperor of the
13个
Ming
皇帝。
Dynasty. He's Chongzheng
有意思啊。
emperor, and so
一代
it
佛学大
actually
师
he
在人世
this
间，我们
Buddhist
通常
master
佛门
he
修行都是
already
两耳
predicted
不闻啊，
even who
世
is the
间
last
事，
emperor,
是吧？
and still he
哎，都是这样的。
answered the
自求
emperor's question and
解
made him
脱
very
啊，
happy
自
because
求
you
开
can
悟。
either interpret it
可是当他
as like thousands
在
of
做这件事
generations
情的时候，
or
那我们很多朋友都会这么
he
想：
actually has already
那
indicated
这
who
一
was the
位
last
佛门的
emperor
大
of
师
the
怎么跟一
of the
个
Ming
皇
Dynasty.
帝
And sometimes you would wonder, how can a Buddhist master help that emperor and to help him to establish the whole country? Most people would think, oh, he probably wants to be wealthy or wants to have fame or have a high position. But according to the history, he was just a Buddhist cultivator. The emperor, he himself, the emperor himself, and all the ministers, they all have like maybe many wives, many concubines. And so as the emperor or other ministers or officials, there's no rules, like there's no limit for how many wives you can have. And so the emperor can have many. Sometimes would have like 300 to 1,000 women in the palace. And so usually people, they fight and compete for the purpose only of wealth or lust or fame or, money and all these benefits. And so usually they will have a lot of women there, a lot of jewelries and treasures there. But Daoyan master, he had nothing. You see, the emperor loved him so much. Would he give some ladies to him, some beautiful girls to him? And of course he did, the emperor did, but Daoyan master said, no, our Buddhist precept says no woman. He only helped master to go to the imperial court to help, deal with some business, but he didn't. He just lived in a very poor temple. Anything that the emperor gave him, whether it's good or not good, well, anything he would just push away. He would just refuse. When Zhu Di just started to fight, some people told him, because at that time there was still the second emperor, the Yang emperor, who was the grandson of Zhu Yuanzhang. He said the first emperor already, passed the throne to the grandson. So some people would say, if Zhu Di, you want to be the emperor, is it against everybody's will? But this Daoyan master said, I cannot care too much about ordinary people's will. I only care about the divine will. And so I need to respect the divine will. So he has already seen. You see, usually you see that the emperor has already instructed the grandson to be the emperor. And the grandson has already become the second emperor. But Daoyan said, I need to follow the divine will. I cannot follow ordinary people's will. This really needs contemplating. I'm just telling you the story, this true story. This great Buddhist master. I'm not saying that the Buddhist master needs to have some relationship with an emperor. That's not what I want to say. But this Daoyan master story is very, very unique. His experience, what he did, was very, very unique. Really attracted me to share with you his experience and his story. It's really interesting. And he was the only one who had been approved that after his death he can be accepted into the royal ancestral temple. He was the only one. As a civilian minister, he usually people, they cannot have their template to be accepted into the royal ancestral temple. That's almost the highest acknowledgement for anyone except an emperor. And so Yao Guangxiao, when he was alive, he was like the sixth level officer, and he said, I will only in charge of managing the monks, and that's it. So it's almost the lowest. The highest is like the first level, and so sixth level is very low. But everything that the emperor wanted him to do, he would do it well. And once, when his hometown had some natural disaster, the emperor gave him a lot of gold and money, and so he went to his hometown and he gave all the gold and money and distributed all of those to the people in his hometown, to those people who are experiencing the natural disaster, to help them. And so this Buddhist master lived 84 years. Well, it's almost like 104 years if he lives nowadays, because at that time there were not many good doctors and not many good medicines. And the emperor wrote the article on his, the stone on his graveyard. And so even the next emperors continued to award him. So this is the story about that Buddhist monk and master. So now let's come back to the chanting with our most sincere heart, to chant to Guanyin Bodhisattva. We need to have a wish to dedicate the merits of this chanting to maybe to your children, so that they can be successful in their work, or maybe find a good partner, or find a good job, or go to a good college or university, and maybe your mother can recover and have long life, and maybe for your family to enjoy safe travel. So you need to have a very clear wish, and then it would be more effective. Okay, so let's start.
萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音 菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世 南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音菩萨，南无观世音。
好，大家搓搓手，
All right. Rub your
搓
hands
脸，
and then your face.
幻想自己回到7岁的样子。
Visualize you're
聪明
back
可
to
爱。
7 years old. Very smart, very intelligent, very lovely.
那个皮肤呢，回到小时候
skin
7岁的样子啊。
Is like a
两
7-year-old
个眼睛
child.
啊，又黑又亮。
And 2 eyes are
皮肤呢
bright.，
哎呀，真是很有
And
弹性啊，像那小苹果。
the skin with a lot of elasticity.
对，再拍拍
And
头，
like a little apple.
观想像
And
尘
then
土一样
pat your
飞扬起来
head.，
一切烦恼
The dust all coming
疾
out.
病像尘
Visualize
土一
all
样飞
the
扬起来。
afflictions or
哎，大家做
illnesses
这个
come
配合
out
哈
like the，
效
dust.
果会非常好。
If you cooperate with me,
哎，
it
睡
would
个
be
好觉，
very effective.
哎，
And
烦
then
恼
you
没有
would
了，头痛也没有
sleep
了。
well, and you won't
啊，
have
那
any
个眼
afflictions, you
花
don't have
呀、眼睛
headaches,
那些疾病就消失了
your
哈。
eye issues will also disappear.
好，再揪揪耳朵，
Now
适
pull
当
our
用点力
ears
哈，只要不揪下来就可以。
with some force.
揪揪耳朵。
As long as you don't pull
揪
your
揪耳
ears
朵呢
down.
第一个
I mean,
就是
off.
能够解心火，你心里
And
头那些
pull your
烦
ears
躁、疲劳
will
拽一拽
relieve
就会没有了。
what we call the
还有呢
fire in your
补肾
heart.
气，
And so, and also
耳朵
it
越大，
helps
肾气越
to
足啊，生命越长久。
nurture the qi in our kidney too, and it helps us to live
对
longer.
36下最好，
Um,
你也可以拽快一
best
点。
to be 36 times. You can pull quickly too.
哎，大家跟我上课也怪啰嗦的。我刚才
Well,
我
you
一讲
come to
完了
my
一看
class,
表，1
sometimes
个
I'm
多小
too
时哈。对
talkative.
不起大
I
家。
look at the clock, it's already
但
more than
是
an hour.
这个道彦和尚的
But
故
this
事确实太
Monk
传奇了。
Daoyan, this
啊
story
其
is
实还有
really
很
quite
多民间传
amazing.
说的，还没给你讲呢。
There are lots
这
of
个更
other
神秘
legends
非
I
常奇
haven't
特
even
啊。
mentioned. I haven't shared with you yet.
要给大家介绍的东西很多。
There are lots of
网
things
友
I
呢
want
天天
to
来信
talk to you.
啊，
And every
就
day,
有
our
你
online
看有每
friends
天就有
write
求
to
子
me,
的，甚至
and
还要给孩
they
子起名
want
字的。
to,
还有问
ask
说这个香炉，哎，每次经常见我在这
to
摆这个
increase
香
their
炉，这
fertility,
香炉除了
and
这个
then they
烧香礼佛，还有什么寓意？
they also
那
ask
我再
about
讲
the
一点哈。
incense
这个
burner.
香炉哈，我们
What do
华
we
人这个
use it
香炉，
for
我这个炉呢，实
besides
际上是很
burning
小的那种
incense? Well,
檀香炉、
this
沉
is
香炉，这是个
a
小号
very
的。
small incense
但
burner
是
for
为什么有这些香炉呢？
sandalwood or
那不是废话，
agarwood.
烧香。
Well,
不仅仅这
the
样，
incense
说
would
如果你的后代
not
兴
only
旺
burning incense,
啊，这个
and
时候就是你家香炉里头有香烟，香烟
the Chinese
香火兴
culture,
盛，
and
就
you
是你
know,
的后代自然就
it
多生一
says
些孩子。
if your
现在很多
incense
后代
burner
啊
has
都不知道吃
incense
错什
here,
么
it
东西，
means
就是不
that
想生孩子。
they
所以你
they will
家呢，
have
我们的佛台
very
也好，
good
在你家的
descendants.
高尚的地方也好，
I don't
放个
know
香
why
炉，
modern people
经
don't
常
want to
烧
have
一烧好
children,
香。
and so I
这
would
种檀香、
recommend you
沉香。
to burn
哎，
really good
对，就是
sandalwood
俗
or
话说嘛，
agarwood
就是
in
家
the
有梧
incense
桐树
burner.
才引得凤凰来。
You know,
就
there's
是
an
你有
old
这个美
Chinese
好的
saying,
东西，
if we
才能
have a
吸引来你想
wonderful
要
tree, then it will attract the phoenix to come. And so if you burn incense in the incense burner, it also symbolizes that you will have many good descendants. And also, in ancient times, if you have 9 ding, which has the same shape as the incense burner, then you are the emperor. Of course, this is different. But if you know some knowledge about Feng Shui, and they really like to collect incense burner. Why do they collect all kinds of incense burners with any kind of material, bronze or steel, and because they want to have more power, more authority, and also more children. Because this kind of ding, the same shape ding, also symbolizes power. And so with incense burner, if you want to increase your fertility, then if you have more of these incense burners, it's more likely for you to have more children. I don't know if you like to hear these. I very rarely go to other people's house because I'm too busy. Occasionally, I go to somebody's house, and the house is so clean that I even dare not touch. The sofa with the white cover, I even dare not sit on it. It's like dust-free. It's completely, it is a place for people to live. When it's so clean, I feel like I cannot sit, I cannot lie down, I cannot eat there. It's just excessively clean. And so that will also make that couple harder to have children. Well, if it's dirtier, would they have more children? Yeah. Well, if you have a lot of children, once, if you have children, can you keep your house completely clean? If you are a clean girl, but once you become the mother, then your clothes will be full of, spit out, milk or some food stains or something. And so that will make it easier to have more children. And so we have an old saying, when the river is too clean, there will be no river there. So don't be too excessively clean. And also at home, if you have some incense burner, and then if you have also some, some vases or some kind of those kind of vases that can help you to collect and accumulate energy that will help your family to gather the qi and more likely to have more power and more children, and children would also be more capable. And some people also have a question of what kind of sutras we should read. And so this is the sutra that we printed from our Bodhi meditation school. Well, about 200 years ago, there was a sutra, Beiye Sutra was very, very well printed. And this is the only one after that one that I saw that is very beautifully printed. And so we have 4 sutras in this collection of sutras. There's the Medicine Buddha Sutra, and Heart Sutra, and the Diamond Sutra, and the Perfection Sutra. And look at it. It's so delicate, and you can take out the sutra this way with the silk ribbon. And also we have the 24K gold around the pages. And all the characters are with real gold. And this book of sutras are the best and the highest, most profound sutras for our
好吧，认真
cultivation
去
of our
选。
heart.
你选好
You
了之后，
can
这
choose
部经
from
你尽量要
this
读完，
sutra. I hope
每
you
一个
will
经你要读
read
完才行。
every
都
sutra
会让我们
from
开悟，
beginning to end,
能
and it
够
will help
让
to
我们有智慧，
awaken our wisdom,
能解
and
决
so we can
我
grow
们生
wisdom
活中的
and
烦恼。
help us to
对，就是这部经啊。
alleviate from
那
the
到哪
afflictions
请
in
呢？
our lives.
去你的禅堂
Where
里
can
就
you
去
get
请
it?
去，每个禅堂
Just
都
go
有。
to your
那有
local
禅堂没有的话，
meditation
赶快写
center,
信给我
Bodhi
啊，
meditation
我还能
center,
够调
and
动
then
一
they
些给
all
你，
have
好
it.
吧？
If you don't have a local Bodhi meditation center, then write to
说
me.
到这
I
信
will
中
try
写
to
什么都有
arrange the
啊，
sutra to
问
be
什么
sent
事
to
儿都
you.
有。这我想起来的就告诉你。
Well, I know that my online friends left
好
all kinds，
那
of
今天呢，虽
questions
然
to
花了
me,
一些
so
时
I
间，
just
我还
remember
是
this.
看到网友哈，经过念佛修炼，还有经过我的加持，
I
很有
read
效果的
a lot of
我也很开心，
friends
也乐意
who
为大家
had
服务。
very good result from
你
our
你健
chanting
康
group
了，
practice
我
and
也
from
快
my
乐了。
healing. I am so happy. You
那
get
今天的这
healthier,
个加持方
I'm
法是很多
happier.
年没有用过的，
And today
是
I'm going
拔
to
核桃。
perform healing
你看我这有一
again.
盆子核桃，
So with a very special
核桃，
way,
大
I
家看
haven't
看
been
哈，
using it for a
这
long
可是真
time.
核
These
桃。
are walnuts. These are real walnuts. A whole
那针对什么问题呢？啥
whole
问题都针
basin
对。
of
我不管你
walnuts.
是肿瘤
So
啊，还
it's
是疼痛
for
啊，还是
healing
腰痛啊，
tumors
还是
or
不生育啊， 还
you
是
know,
便
back
秘啊，还
pain
是太
or
胖啊，真的无所谓。
constipation
反正
or
我答完它来
overweight
满足你的心
or
愿。
you know whatever problem,
但我也相
and I
信
will
会有
crack
些人的
the
肿瘤，
walnut,
尤其是表面上能摸得到的那个
and
小
this
脂肪瘤，
will
我
solve
答完
your
了之后，
problem.
它就变小了或者消失了。
And I believe a
你
lot
的
of
头
people's
痛的人，我
tumor
答完
will
之后当
shrink
场就不
and
痛
even
了。
disappear. And somebody who
我
have
只是说的简
headache,
单，这每
when
个人
I
的病
crack
都不
the
一样。
walnut, their
我们试
headache
试
will
看哈。
disappear. Well, everybody's
我
illness
安
are
全起见
different.
哈，
Let's
跟
give
老
it a
外学
try.
的，我都带个保护眼睛的镜子哈，大家一看
Well,
像怪人
I
一样。
need to
但是为
wear a
了
protection
眼睛的安全。
goggle just to protect my eyes, okay?
哎，觉得不一样了哈。
Look, am I a little different today?
这没啥好笑的
Don't laugh.
啊！我刚来地球的时候更难看。
Well, when I just came to
好，
the earth, I'm
我们随
even
着我的
uglier.
锤子落下去，哎，我们的
When I
疾病
put
就
my
在消
hammer
失
on,
啊。
then our illness would disappear.
哦，哦，你小心点啊！
Be careful, okay?
哦，哦，摩，你。 将一切邪气、妖气、
All the
鬼
evil
气
energy and ghosty
统统离
energy
开，
all go away,
凡
disappear.
是所有欲 金菩提禅师有缘
all
的
the
众
people
生，
who have karmic bond with
一切
Grandmaster
邪气、
JinBodhi,
病气、
all the
鬼气、
illnesses
妖
and
魔之
evil
气
energy
迅
and
速离开。
demonic energy will disappear quickly.
愿一切有缘众生
All sentient beings
回
who
归
have
佛
karmic
性，
bond with me will come back to their Buddha nature.
不再贪欲，
No more
不
greed,
再伤害。
no more hurting.
“最后2个，
The last two.
愿我每一锤子都代
I
表着
wish
天庭
each hammer
对
is
一
like
切邪气的
the
惩罚，
divine strike
让
to
它回归
punish
于空气，
all the evil
回
energy
归于
and
最初的本性，
let them go
那就是
back to
清
the
净。
air, go back to the
离
origin,
开
which is
一
purity,
切有缘人，
and those evil energy
收
will
回你的
leave
憎恶
all
怨气，
sentient beings,
让一切众生
to
平安
allow
吉祥。
all sentient beings to be peaceful and safe, with good energy, good fortune, auspiciousness.
我还会送一把扇子
I will give
给
the fan
下一场直
to
播，就是周三、礼拜三
the
三
next
当中的有
YouTube
缘朋友
live,，
我会在
someone who has
为推广我们
special comic bond
这个网络直播做
when
赞助的朋友当中，
among the
会
people
当众
who sponsored
去抽
for
奖，
our
抽到那
online
位有缘人
teachings.
把
We will
我
take a draw
这个亲手写的这个扇子，这是原件
among those
哎
sponsors,
就会送给他。
and this is
抽
a
到了
fan
就会送给
that
他。
I handwritten on it, and so I
我
will
想可能一把不
take
够，
a
我要
draw.
送2把啊。
Maybe
就在
one
周
is
三
not
的直
enough.
播上，
I will give out two. So I
还
have
会
two
送一个香
giveaways,
炉，
and I will also this
在
incense
送上
burner is also a giveaway, and
3条我
and
亲手加
also
持的这个
three
念珠，
blessed
让大家
beads,
都能够如意吉祥。
chanting beads, and I hope you
就
will
在
all be
周三的
auspicious and wish
这个
fulfilled.
直播
So
当中有
in
送上。
Wednesdays,
好，欢迎呢，
YouTube
到时候
Live, we
你
will
来
give them
光
out.
临来参加。
So
啊
I welcome you to come to our
好，
live
今天呢
broadcast.
我们就讲到这里。
So that's all
祝
for
大家
today.
如意
I wish
吉
all of
祥。
you auspiciousness,
长命
good
百
fortune,
岁
and wish fulfilling.
出
I
入
wish you
平安
longevity till 100
好，
years
我们
and
周
safe
三再
travel.
见。
I'll see you on Wednesday. Thank you.
人生就此欢喜，我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了。